You're now watching Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
All right, Jimmy out along with Paul Stone, college basketball. It's championship week for the big boys. This week we got a lot to talk about, and boy, the dynamics change with the neutral sites now again, and teams that are on the bubble, teams that are playing for pride, and teams that just got a little bit a senior leadership that maybe just playing for a little bit more, and also the coaching. Have they lost their team? Are they still playing hard? A lot of different dimensions as we go into these sites, and some of these sites are kind of not exactly your typical environment, your atmosphere. Some can be really, really strong, and some fan bases travel way more than others, and it could be a quasi home court advantage. Let's get right to it on Tuesday, Paul. And we got a double pick right out the chute. Cincinnati, Oklahoma State. Good job, Paul. You had Oklahoma State on Saturday. They won 78-67 against Cincinnati as about a 3.5-point dog. I think it closed at. We were projecting it a little bit lighter than that, so we got a better line. But and we talked about Oklahoma State at home. They now have won and covered 5 of their last 6 at home, but it's a different story on the road. Cincinnati needs some wins. That was a damaging loss on Saturday in Stillwater. And so the 13 seed Bearcats minus 6.5 were projected against Oklahoma State, the 12 seed. And I like the bounce back factor here where you just got beat by a team, just the mental aspect of it where you're going to have a little bit more. You got whooped. You can have a little bit more pride, a little bit more of a mental angle, not being focused from jump. And we see that from time to time. I know it can sustain, go the other way as well. But I like Cincinnati in a spot where they're probably out, but they may be a little bit hungrier and a little bit more finality. I like them a minus 6.5 on a neutral site here in Kansas City, Paul, and I know that you do as well.
Yeah, I gave out, as you mentioned, Oklahoma State as a small home underdog this past Saturday over Cincinnati. The Cowboys delivered for us. And as you mentioned, these same teams now meet 3 days later in Kansas City in the first round of the Big 12 tournament. So what am I going to do? You as well. I'm going to do an about face here. I like this Cincinnati squad. They're on the outside looking in, but they do have a shot at the NCAA tournament. They are fighting for their NCAA tournament lives on a neutral floor. Looking at Joe Lenardi of ESPN, his latest projections for the NCAA tournament, which were released late Sunday night, the Bearcats are currently listed as the next 4 out, and that pretty much means the Bearcats likely need to win at least 2 games in the Big 12 tournament to have a shot here. Cincinnati, obviously then, they desperately need a victory. Oklahoma State, they haven't posted back-to-back victories since before Christmas, so they have not been able to follow one win up with another. The fact they're playing in, 3 days later, like you, I think Cincinnati bounces back. I like the Bearcats by double digits over the Cowboys.
The bounce back factor for the Cincinnati Bearcats in need of at least 2 victories in this Big 12 tournament. At Bet Rivers, earn a chance at $10,000 in bonus credits with Bet Rivers prop packs. Place NBA same-game parlays to collect player card prop packs and earn rewards. You win based on how your player performs. So log into BetRivers.com or the Bet Rivers app to place your bet and get your pack. Let's keep it in the Big 12 and go to Kansas City again. The number 9 seed TCU, the Horned Frogs, projected as a 1-point favorite against Colorado, the 16 seed. This is a bounce back, an about face type of spot for the Horned Frogs as well. They lost 76-56 in Boulder on Saturday. Now, they did split the regular season series. TCU won at home 68-57 earlier in the season. So, Paul, with a 9 seed and a 16 seed and only 1-point favorite on a neutral court catches your attention here.
Yeah, first of all, looking at this Colorado team, they beat 2-time defending national champion UConn in a pretty good Colorado State team. Both of those victories before Christmas got off to a 9-2 start, but obviously not much has gone right for the Buffaloes since those 2 victories. They did finish the regular season with a convincing 20-point victory in Boulder over this same TCU team, but the Buffaloes 3-17 in league play, finished in sole possession of last place in the 16-team Big 12. As far as TCU, this certainly isn't one of Jamie Dixon's finest editions there in Fort Worth, but they did defeat the likes of BYU, Texas Tech, and Baylor in league play, almost swept the Bears. They played Baylor in Fort Worth last week, lost by 3, but had a chance to win that game as well. I think TCU, they're the slightly better club. They're ranked higher than Colorado by both KenPom and the net rankings. And then again, like we spoke about this Cincinnati-Oklahoma State game, Colorado faces the additional challenge of having to beat the same team, a team with similar talent, 2 times in 4 days. And this time they have to do it away from their home floor. I like TCU minus the projected 1 point over Colorado.
All right, another double barrel pick for us. So we got a couple of common picks, and we're staying in the Big 12 again. Let's go to Kansas City. Kansas State, the number 10 seed versus Arizona State, the number 15 seed. Boy, every conference has a different way, it appears, of kind of formatting their tournament with the seeds. Kansas State projected as a 3-point favorite. Certainly a roller coaster season for Kansas State. They lost 9 of 10, and then they win 6 in a row. Again, 4 ranked opponents in that stretch, and then they lose 4 in a row. And now they've won 2 out of 3, all over the place for Tang's team. And that's where I kind of the big advantage for me here. I think that Jerome Tang has kept his locker room intact a little bit more. I think the coaching stability is way better. Just had a little rough year. They should bounce back, and not all the transfers worked out. They lost a key piece as well in Cam Carter, but just not the case in Tempe with Bobby Hurley. I'd be very surprised if he is back. He does have some NIL budget in Tempe. There is some talent there as well, but man, they just get housed sometimes. I mean, absolutely, brought to the woodshed. So I just like the locker room. I think that Kansas State has kept this thing together way better. And on a soft number here at -3, I'm all over Kansas State in this spot. Paul, you like the Wildcats as well.
Yes, I do. And Arizona State, they lost their regular season finale on Saturday at home, lost by 28 points. To a very good Texas Tech team, albeit, but still by 28 points on your home floor. And what really concerns me about Arizona State as they prepare to play Kansas State in the first round of the Big 12 tournament is the fact that 2 of their top players didn't play against Texas Tech. They've got a freshman forward, Jaden Quintance, and then their guard, Adam Miller. Both these guys average about 30 minutes a game. Both average right at 10 points a game. Again, neither played against Texas Tech. Their availability for Tuesday's game is presently uncertain, but Quintance, he has not played in the last 4 games, so he's missed 4 straight games due to a knee injury. Miller has been sidelined and hobbled by a hip pointer. So, these guys, one or both, may or may not play in this game. Without them, Arizona State against Texas Tech, minus those guys, essentially played a 6-man rotation. They had 2 or 3 guys play a minute and 2 minutes, but they're playing 6 guys. They have no depth. And even if one or both of them do play on Tuesday against Kansas State, I still like Kansas State here. They're playing less than a 2-hour drive from their campus there in Manhattan, Kansas. Plus, they've gotten their forward back, Coleman Hawkins. He's a guy who actually had a small fracture in his right tibia, so he missed 3 games late season, but he's returned to play the last 2, and he's played a total of 67 minutes. And he's a guy that's just critical. To me, he's kind of the straw that stirs the drink for Kansas State. Coleman Hawkins averages 10.4 points a game, but he averages first or second on the team in these following 4 statistical categories: rebound 6.9 a game, assist 4.5 a game, 1.9 steals a game, and 1.3 blocks a game. So his line score, he contributes throughout the game for the Wildcats, a key piece of their puzzle. Much better team with him. I think Kansas State lives to fight another day. This Arizona State team, as you mentioned, they're just hanging on. They've had some really bad efforts. And this was a team as well, Arizona State. They started out the season with some promise. But like you indicated, Bobby Hurley, this could be his last game as Arizona State's head coach. I like Kansas State minus a projected 3 over the Sun Devils.
All right, Paul, let's say, okay, with one of your picks here, let's go to Conference USA. It's an 8-9 seed matchup between UTEP and Sam Houston State in Huntsville, Alabama. They split their regular season series. UTEP wins by 9 during our earlier part of the season, and then Sam Houston State by 2 just a week ago. So UTEP projected as a 1-point favorite here against Sam Houston State in Huntsville in this 8-9 matchup.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that these two teams in Conference USA split the regular season series, with Sam Houston winning 89-87 this past Thursday, March 6th, rather, there in Huntsville, Texas. UTEP in that game actually led by 9 points with 13 minutes to go. Couldn't close it out. However, UTEP, who I'm backing here at a projected -1 point, they actually ended the season on a 7-game losing streak. But most of those defeats did come against the league's upper division. All but one were by 10 points or fewer. And again, I like the fact that UTEP just lost to Sam Houston on the road and now gets the chance to make amends in quick fashion. And in that victory this past Thursday, Sam Houston, they shot 58.5% from the field. They made 10 of 20 three-pointers. I don't think they're going to replicate that effort in Huntsville, Alabama, although they are a good three-point shooting team. They're one of the top 10 three-point shooting teams nationally, hit about 39% of their three-pointers a game. But still, I don't think they're going to duplicate that effort. UTEP, they've been slightly better than Sam Houston also away from their home floor. This is a UTEP team that won at Conference USA regular season champion Liberty. And also earlier this year in a non-conference game, they only lost by 3 points at Louisville. That's a Louisville team currently ranked 13th nationally in the coaches poll. I think UTEP's going to rebound, beat Sam Houston. I like UTEP minus a projected 1 point over the Bearcats.
All right, let's move to the Wednesday slate now, and a couple of games in the SEC that I'm looking at, and it's just in Nashville, Tennessee. And so the SEC has been a lot of conversation this year about how many teams are going to, make it to the NCAA tournament. And they did a lot of we knew there would be a lot because they did so much damage in the non-conference. So their conference RPI, their strength of conference metrics, were set before they got into conference play. Keep in mind that 14-2 win in that ACC-SEC matchup back in December. But this time last week, there were 4 teams that were right on the bubble. 1 through 10 are in, 11 through 14, maybe some work to do, or right on the bubble, just on the right side or the bad side, whatever. Well, 4 of those teams, all with coaches that may have to get to the tournament to stay employed. Arkansas had a 2-0 week. Georgia had a 2-0 week. Oklahoma had a 2-0 week. And Texas, because they had to play Oklahoma, somebody had to lose that game on Saturday. Oklahoma wins on the road in Austin. So Texas is obviously the toughest spot right now. You see the burnt orange hat on my man's head from Texas, okay? He knows a little bit about the inner workings of his alma mater and certainly follows their beat writers closely. But Texas, you wonder about Terry and his future at Texas. Now they play Vanderbilt. They lost at Vanderbilt in Nashville earlier this year. I remember that Saturday afternoon game. They were in position. That was one of their better played games. And then Vandy kind of stole it the last 6 or 7 minutes. But Texas was certainly in position. Texas has the freshman who's going to be a mid-lottery pick. He is outstanding, and even in a loss at Arkansas, when he dropped 39, I believe, in that game. So a lot of things, and Vandy is safely in right now. And I just think there's a little bit extra oomph here for Texas on a neutral. I like the way they matched up the first time in an odd place with the baseline benches instead of on the sidelines and things like that. Vandy's always a little awkward, tricky spot to play on the road, no matter what kind of talent they have. So I'm going with the Longhorns plus a short number here, Paul, plus 1.5. I know it's not always the best angle to play. Hey, this team needs it. I'm not going to go there. But I think they're going to be just fine in this matchup, and I think maybe just a little bit of an exhale spot for Vandy, although you got to respect the first-year job that guy's done up in Nashville. So Texas plus the 1.5. Bridgestone, it's not on Vandy's campus, but it is in Nashville.
Yeah, I know Texas obviously is an extremely desperate team, which absolutely has to win this game to have a shot at the tournament, but Yeah, I just have zero confidence personally in Rodney Terry and the Longhorns. They've lost 7 of their last 9 games. They just seem to me to kind of be like a rudderless ship, floating around in the ocean aimlessly. But at the same time, they show, they kind of show signs of life at times. They had a pretty good performance at Mississippi State in going to Starkville recently and getting a victory there. Their true freshman, Trey Johnson, I mean, he has been a pleasure to watch, and it'll be a shame if he doesn't get a shot at the NCAA tournament. I will say Trey Johnson in that 4-point home loss to Oklahoma in Austin on Saturday, 0 of 14 from the field,
Ooh.
which is hard to do. He only had 7 points all on free throws, so I don't know that there's going to be any carryover from that. He's liable to drop another 39.
I'll say that might revert back to the mean.
We played we played 30-something games, and he's a gamer. He's shown what he can do, so he's probably more likely to have a premium effort than a similar effort. But I probably won't be involved here. But I guess I'm maybe too close to the Longhorns and been disappointed too much by many of their performances this year. But they got to win, no question about it. If they don't beat Vanderbilt, they have no hope. And we were talking off air before we started, and you were asking about the Longhorns and so forth. One thing that's been reported as well by one of the fan sites that covers the Longhorns is that if the Longhorns don't make the NCAA tournament, they will reject an NIT bid and will just go straight into a coaching search.
Yeah, the NIT is going to be a different tournament this year as well because the Big 12, Big 10, and Big East are locked into that new tournament, the Queens tournament, I believe it's called, in Las Vegas. So it's going to be a little bit different. But also the SEC, the teams that finish in the standings right after the first 2 or 3 are automatic bids. I mean, you're talking about maybe LSU or South Carolina might even get invites to the NIT with losing records. Let's go to my last one. They stay in Nashville in the SEC as well. We'll talk about those Oklahoma Sooners. They went down to Austin and got the win, and now they will go and play the Georgia Bulldogs. Bulldogs, boy, the one they didn't follow that normal path where big emotional win and then an exhale, a letdown spot. They just followed up that Florida win with a win on the road in Austin, the best win on the road, double digits, pretty much gate to wire in Austin, and came back home and took care of business as well. They went to South Carolina, which South Carolina had covered 7 in a row at home. They won that one comfortably by 9. And then they finish up on Saturday winning and covering against Vanderbilt. So this is maybe take your hand off the stove with maybe trying to fade the Georgia Bulldogs right now. But I think Oklahoma still, they're not a lock just yet. They're in a good spot, much better spot than what they were a week ago. There's no doubt. They had 2 big wins, 2 quad 1 wins, but now they're back in a spot. And Porter Moser has not been to the tournament in his 4 years in Norman, Oklahoma. Now, he and McMahon at LSU have the 15th and 16th ranked budgets, the player budgets, NIL. They call it NIL. It's had nothing to do with name, image, and likeness. It's pay for play. It's player salary. So, but they are, maybe he's not hustling enough. Maybe Oklahoma is not committed as much on the basketball side. Whatever it is, 0 for 4. And you got to get to the tournament at some point. They're probably in right now, but they could sure secure it a lot more with a win here. Georgia, no doubt about that. White, same situation. He probably needed, in his 3rd year, a trip to the NCAA tournament. They're in now. But Oklahoma could use a little bit more cushion for that spot. I like them here. I like the way they're closing. I'm going to take Oklahoma plus a projected 3 in Nashville against Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia currently projected as a 10 seed by Joe Lunardi. So I think the Bulldogs are fairly safe to make the tournament outside of a blowout loss here and then some crazy circumstances, handful of bid stealers, that type of thing. You look at Oklahoma, they're currently among Lunardi's last 4 in. So I think they really need a victory here because if they lose and there's a bid stealer or two, then they go from last four in, and they might be ultimately last four out. But they played well. Obviously, they need the win at Texas on Saturday. They got that win 76-72 in Austin. They certainly have a greater sense of urgency. And as I mentioned, I think this is it. It's almost like the tournament started for Oklahoma. If they win, they continue in the real tournament. And if they lose, they very well might not be in the event. But Georgia, it's tough for me. I have a trepidation stepping in front of Georgia, even though the Bulldogs are likely in a position where they can exhale. They've won 4 straight games to close the season and reached 20 regular season wins over 4 really good teams. They've covered 5 straight games. Their true freshman Asa Newell and others are just playing at such a high level. They just hit the gas at the right time. So I'm going to probably watch this one. For me, it would be Oklahoma or nothing, though, because they are, the team playing with their backs up against the wall. But it's going to be a great, of all these, especially the major conferences, their conference tournaments. I think this is as intriguing of a first-round matchup as there is on the board. So, Oklahoma or nothing for me as well.
All right, that's going to cover the Tuesday and Wednesday games here in Championship Week. We'll be back on Thursday with a look at the busiest day of Championship Week, and that is the Thursday in college basketball. For Paul Stone, I'm Jimmy Ott here on the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.